pinnacle of human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining. I just wanted to get on here and do a little update on what's going on with me and what I'm picking up in the energy and that sort of thing. Really just my experience, because I think at this time the experience for everyone is very different, and I think it's really going to depend on how much you're connected within or to the external world. And I think right now, what I'm feeling is a lot of letting go, not in a giving up sort of way, but letting go of ideas of how exactly things are going to manifest and work out, and taking time to do those conscious breaths. Matter of fact, let's do one now. Just take a nice deep breath. And just do a nice big sigh of relief and really feel that anchor deep inside, that peace that surpasses all understanding, that doesn't change, the divine that's in each and every one of us. So tapping into that consciously. I do it whenever I get triggered, which, there's a lot of that going on these days. If you're engaged with any kind of observing, as I like to do, I like to observe what's going on. But, I've gone here recently, I've gone a week without really looking at anything, and just to come back and find out not a lot has even changed. So I'm not missing anything. That would have been a lot of wasted time had I been sitting there, worried about how things are playing out on the world stage. So I think this is really a time of going within and finding that place within each and every one of us. Getting out in nature, for those of you that don't like to meditate or find it difficult to meditate, the conscious breath is that doorway into what I'm talking about, this higher peaceful bliss. Just taking those conscious breaths with that sigh of relief. The sigh is so important. You don't want to leave that out. Closing your eyes is also important if you're not driving or anything, just to you immediately drop down into the alpha brain waves when you close your eyes. Take that deep breath and really feel how everything is okay. I oftentimes will use the wood chipper analogy. I'm not in the wood chipper right now, so kind of graphic, but things could always look worse, and it just definitely helps to keep pointed in a positive direction. So I'm actually going to share some, for those of you that haven't been getting out in nature or whatever, I'm going to play a little B-roll of some nature or whatever while I talk. But back to the letting go and just sort of going with the flow, ideas, the way things are going to play out, the way things must play out or happen for things to come about. And, I think, and I often come from that very highest perspective as the whole architect of this whole reality. I really feel like we've created this reality, this dreamlike world, not so much in a computer simulated sort of way. I think that can be useful as far as an analogy is concerned, to sort of maybe have a different perspective on our reality that's helpful. But I really feel like it's more consciousness driven. It would be more like a dream or something along those lines. But, how do we know when we've never been outside of this reality? We have nothing to compare it to, really. So things are real within this reality. Pain, just like in our dreams, we can have very painful dreams, and upon awakening, the dream, we know it's over, but whatever the traumatic experience we dealt with in the dream might last for a really long time. So letting go, I've heard other people that I resonate with talking about, sort of letting go of the teaching and trying to wake people up. And I'm feeling like, I definitely feel that energy within the collective of just like, kind of throwing your hands up and like, I'm done with this and I'm tired of trying to convince people. But you know what? I think that's really a good thing, because as I was going within meditation, I was feeling like there's plenty of people that are hungry for information, that are waking up, and it's not so much giving up as much as it is being more selective. So, rather than getting distracted by debating someone, go to someone that, we'll see opportunities. Opportunities will synchronistically arise where somebody starts a conversation with you. I've recently had an opportunity to travel, visit with some family that I haven't seen in years. And I could tell there's definitely been, as far as like the Mandela effect is concerned, and bringing up the topic, it was a lot different this time. Instead of trying to convince that it's happening, the conversation was more along the lines of, why do you think they're doing this? Or why do you think this is happening? Or it was no longer a debate, and I was kind of surprised. That's come a long way. And I don't know if it's just, the people I deal with. I don't really talk to a lot of people, but these are family members that have not even really wanted to discuss things in the past and kind of shied away from it. And I've had multiple family members now, actually bring it up as a topic, like, hey, did you hear about blah, 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 and bringing up the Mandela effect. So that's totally new. I wanted to bring that out because, of course, I look beyond the Mandela effects at what they're telling us. And one of the main ones that I was feeling was just that revelation of Forrest Gump's life is like a box of chocolates, as now life was like a box of chocolates. And I think that little revelation of truth is huge when you look at it, because there was a time when we really didn't know what we were going to get. But now we know we're going to get exactly what we're focused on, for those of us that are waking up and realizing this. And it's just like the Mandela effect. People have to experience that and realize that for themselves. And there's not a lot you can do to make someone see the Mandela effect or make them see that they are so much in control of how they experience their reality. Maybe not changing everything about it, but you definitely have the complete sovereign power of how you experience everything. And I mean, just a simple example, you could have a complete stranger come up in your face and call you a name, and right up in your face, and most of us would be taken aback right away, like, what the heck's going on? Why is this person yelling at me? But, you got two paths. You can either get triggered by that and have this external force come and like ruin your day, or you can just kind of stay out of it, and it goes deeper than that with so many different things. And I love to look at things and keep an eye on it, but I also know that I don't want to get pulled too far in, because right now it's like polarity is on steroids. And whenever I see so much stuff going on, so much activity going on that is seemingly negative to the naked eye, but you look beyond that, because, just like the picture, the image of there's the two faces, or you can look at the negative space between it. It looks like a vase, and we've shown this image before, you can either see the faces or you can see the vase, but you can't see them simultaneously. You can switch back and forth very quickly, but as soon as you see the vase, the faces become the background, and vice versa. And that's really how the positive and the negative are. You can't be focused on both sides of the coin at the same time. And when I had that, I've been loving Vanessa VA's videos about the consciousness arc, and in the way she's been receiving much of what I've been getting, but just in the way that she explains it. And it's been really cool, because I've been getting, like, that song Magic Came, and, how it says, from where we stand, you're home free, taking this higher perspective, and to never let your aim stray. We want to keep pointed in the right direction, and that's the positive direction, if that's the direction you want to go, the direction of love and peace and all of those good positive vibes. Or you can focus on the fear and the feelings of victim and imprisonment, or any other negative feelings that's going around, all the feelings of hopelessness. There's plenty of negative stuff to focus on. But, gosh, if you just shut yourself off from the outside world, which is pretty easy to do these days with most people being locked down and things like that, there is a peace that surpasses all understanding that you can tap into, that the Bible talks about. And I definitely feel the whole feeling of not really wanting to wake people up, the polarity on steroids. It's so many of the views right now, you just can't understand the opposite side of the coin. Like, how can they possibly think like that? And that goes both directions. Neither side can wrap their head around why the other side can't see things a certain way. And when you pull back from it, you can see how both sides they're living their reality and their truth, and it's true from their point of view. It's totally true, from each of their points of view. They're both valid points of view, but it's designed that way to separate us. So I think right now it's really important to just, let go of all of those things that are kind of placed out there to cause division, and just try to love people through it. I know, particularly in the United States, when a lot of families get together, there's a lot that can happen with conversations, and you can be thankful at the end of the day it's over many times. But we had a great Thanksgiving with the kids and the grandkids, and everything was wonderful here. So that was 2020 was a good year for me. I know it wasn't for a lot of people, but I had already sort of let go of a lot before moving into this phase of my life. But yeah, I really feel for anybody who has, like, I don't know, maybe their lifelong business or generations of businesses, and now it's coming to an end, and it's hard to let go of that. But even if you're in that sort of situation where it just seems like all your business finances are just crumbling, you can always look at the positive. Like, what direction can I go now? Well, this is a new opportunity that's presenting itself to do something different. And, we might have felt stuck before in whatever we were doing. Like, how can I ever get out of this? Well, maybe this was the ticket out, and it can be painful. I'm not saying it's not painful to lose things and to lose people, but having that higher perspective, it's not the end of the road for any of us, even beyond death. This is just a temporary journey for us. And I really feel like it's an individual journey here and now for each and every one of us, and we really don't have to wait for any external force. And this is sort of what I'm realizing, that everything that I was looking to the external world to supply me is just sort of a trap, we get tricked into waiting. Well, I won't have peace until this is done or this is done. But none of that stuff is, you don't need any of that to have that peace that surpasses all understanding. I think it's Philippians 4:7. That's one of those 11s I notice that talks about that, Paul, I believe. But it's kind of funny, because as I was feeling like this whole letting the teaching and the waking up, because I might not have been doing much on the channel. I know me and Michelle, we've things have, I guess 1 week she wasn't feeling good. This last week we were both like really tired. I feel like we're getting lots of downloads right now. So that's another thing with going with the flow, not to get stuck into too many rigid schedules and things like that. If things need to move around, to be flexible, because other opportunities have arisen to help other people and family and things like that during this time. So just really being open and open to change and not too rigid, and letting go of if you can't let go of your schedule with this whole thing, gosh, it's hard to schedule anything. And I'm like thinking like long-term things like concerts and events and things. I'm like, oh gosh, it would really suck to be in that field where you have to plan something out with so much uncertainty. Because it's like now this is this in the moment time to stay in the moment, focused in the moment, and tapping into that light that's flooding into the planet. And I'm already noticing the DNA changes. The base of my neck looks a little bit wider, and I got this like little cut line in it now. And I'm like, man, I think our bodies are changing. And so I don't really know what's going on. I wish I had answers. I know everything's okay. And in meditation, I get this overwhelming peace that really can't be explained, that everything is working out perfectly, and that the more we can stay in those high vibe energies, those in the community that resonate with what I'm saying right now, the more that we actually become antennas to help, broadcast out this love light energy, this higher vibrational energy that's really helping all of the other segments of the population that are doing their little thing. So it really is like a well-oiled machine with all these little cogs. And while it might seem like on a consciousness level we're doing a lot, on a 3D level it might not look like we're doing anything. It might look like we've got our head in the sand and we're ignoring look at all the horribleness out there. But there's so much beauty out there, and if that's the direction we want to head, to beauty, that's where attention goes, that's where the energy flows. So we don't want to get distracted with the debating and just all of that stuff, because the scripture that kind of popped in my head is, the harvest is plenty, but laborers are few. So I looked that up, and I got the corresponding, I guess, verse in John, because that was in Matthew 9:37. The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. So that sent me over to John 4:35, and it said something along the lines of, they say in 3 months the harvest will be here, and then Jesus says, but I tell you, look, the harvest, or the fields are ripe now, or something along those lines. So it's not looking to the future, it's looking to now. And I synchronistically had those scriptures pop up. And gosh, and there's so much more to the Bible, you guys, for all my Christian friends out there, that there's so much more that you can get from the Bible beyond what the church teaches. And it's really been a fascinating journey it's like onion, where you peel off more and more layers and you get to more and more deeper truths within it. And but I wanted to give this little sort of analogy that I got in my head. It was like a paper, imagine, if you can kind of imagine a paper tablecloth, very lightweight, where it's sort of getting blown, it's getting balled up in the wind, it's getting blown around in the wind and kind of tossed around, like a tumbleweed, And one of the things we learn, like when we look into the teachings of Esther Hicks and the Abraham Hicks channelings and getting in the vortex and all of that, and I was shown how, this paper, very lightweight paper cloth was getting blown in the wind, and then when it spread all four corners out, it became like a cell, and it began to sell, and it like got in the vortex, as they say. And so I got this picture of sailing and just going with the flow and catching the wind. And many of us are there already. Many of us have learned to stay in the vortex of creation and manifesting and all of that. But then I got the next, I guess, part of that vision, and I noticed the two lower corners began to lag behind the two upper corners, creating sort of a diagonal sheet, and it began to rise and leaning into the wind, so to speak, and the wind began to lift the tablecloth up, and it began to ascend through leaning into the wind. So synchronistically, after I got this little thing, I'm like driving, and I hear Fox News I was on satellite radio, I was listening to the broadcast, and I flipped through, and they had some guy in there that just wrote this book called like Into the Wind, and he was like this pilot. And it was like right after I got this vision, and I didn't even listen to the whole thing. Like I said, I was just driving, but it was this little synchronicity. And then a little bit later, I was flipping through another channel, and he was on another channel talking about the same book. So evidently this guy's pushing this book into the wind. I don't know anything about it too much. He seemed very inspired, and it seemed like it would be a good book. But I'm just really pointing out the fact that it went synchronistically with this sort of this vision of ascension and getting in the vortex and then leaning into the wind and allowing that to actually create lift. And so the very thing that seems like it's pushing us around is the very thing that's actually creating the ascension. So with all of that said, I just wanted to just get on here and let you guys know everything's cool. If I'm not on here as much as usual, I'm still, spreading the love and the light, and I won't ever go too long without getting on here. But something else interesting I wanted to share that I would normally have shared with Michelle on the show, and I'll bring it up when we talk again. But I was at this restaurant the other day and saw the waitress had a mask on, and I was kind of thinking about how the people that I recognized from before the whole mask thing, like the waitress and different people that you go into like Quick Trips or convenience stores and things like that, and you see people that with a mask on, and your face, or your brain kind of fills in the rest of their face. At least it does for me, but I'm an artist, so I don't know if I can kind of just see their whole face from just seeing the top portion. But then if I haven't ever seen someone before, it's like their face is a mystery. So I tend not to notice masks on people's face sometimes if I know them or whatever, or recognize them. And so I'm looking at the waitress, and this strange thing happened as I looked into her eyes. She wasn't looking back at me. She, was looking off another direction. But I saw her face, and it was like I tapped into her energy or something. And she had this deep sadness of what I thought was losing a child, maybe. I didn't really know what it was. It wasn't like I got flashes of images. It was more energetically. And then it felt like maybe it was a little brother, the more I kind of tapped into it. But that's really strange for me, because I don't have anything like that I would typically, a stranger, and you just pick up this vibe off of them. Was pretty specific. I didn't ask, of course, I didn't, but it's just noticing. And so I guess that would be the beginning of that type of psychic ability that we've been told that sort of thing's going to start, our intuition's going to ramp up, the telepathy is going to ramp up, and I imagine, other psychic abilities, because they're very much energetic, and as we become more energetic, and it's clear that we've got some DNA changes going on. Some of them seem to be Mandela effect-like and happen instantly. Others seem to be changing maybe more slowly over time. Not really sure. But that is just about it, you guys. I just wanted to get on here and let you guys know everything is great. To not get distracted too much. Make sure you're doing those conscious breaths if you want to really. That's like the doorway, you guys. I mean, I can't really stress that enough. It sounds so simple. It can be easily disregarded. But just doing that several times, maybe even like once an hour, once every couple hours. Definitely, if you feel triggered by anything you see, if you're out there, because it's like a minefield out there. That's why I don't go on Facebook too much. It's like, I feel like, if I was an alcoholic, I wouldn't go hang out in a bar. I'm someone that I already know I'll get triggered easily, so I just tend not to go places where, and it's kind of a cop-out, and you can see it as, oh, he thinks he's too good for Facebook. And it's like, no, I realize that, it's like a minefield, and I'm kind of putting myself out there because, one little video of someone treating someone bad, and, it can consume you, and it can, I don't know how many. There was one time I saw a video that was so troubling, I reported it, and the police were like, "This is like 2 years old." I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And so I just tend to. I haven't had good experiences on there, so I tend to. I love the fact that people send me things, and I will look at the private messages from time to time when I get those. So I appreciate getting stuff like that. Typically, email, if you want to get a hold of me, is the quickest way to get a hold of me at ShaneCRob@gmail.com. That's Shane C. Rob, as in Shane Cornell Robinson. That's my name. That's my initials. ShaneCRob@gmail.com. And you can email me directly that way. Until next time, you guys, lots of love, light, and unity. We'll see you on the next one. Peace. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.